Any final statements about this or about anything or anything you want to have included?
I guess the only thing for me is based on what you just said, is being an IFS practitioner and working with people and people finding young parts that even though we can't be perfect as parents, we should know that our actions and reactions do have an effect on our kids. And we shouldn't feel guilty about that necessarily or beat ourselves up, but it's good to just know so that we could try our best and try to be more patient next time or try to work on the parts that cause pain. Because it's not that, we can't apologize, but if we keep repeating the same behavior, the apologies don't mean that much. So I think it's important I believe in the repair and I believe in looping back and doing that, but it has to accompany you as a parent. Just let me work with the parts so I don't keep repeating the disappointment in my face or the, because it's almost like how you feel when your partner looks at you with disappointment or with anger or whatever it is, it affects you. And we have to realize that what we do does affect our kids, but not to the extent that we become debilitated in ourselves as parenting, but it is to inspire us, I think, to always strive. And in that striving, our kids see it. They see you being more patient the next time. They respond, like you said, they're so forgiving. And if we could just be curious about ourselves and about our kids, that we can reach that 30%.
Yeah.
I think.
I also think there's, especially for women, and I'm sure it comes up for men, I work mostly with women and parents, but the whole mom guilt thing. And, what I tell them is that guilt is an emotion that we should feel, if we've intentionally done something to harm somebody, but it's not something we should use as a bat to beat ourselves up with. And if you get into that cycle, then you're not helping yourself or your child, but just naming it and acknowledging it, is empowering to both you and your child to be able to move past it and work through it, not get stuck in it.
Yeah, I love that concept of guilt is the opportunity for correction.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not becoming a martyr. It's not becoming
Right.
a horrible human being. It's just saying like, oh, here's an opportunity to fix this or correct this or improve this.
My understanding is guilt comes out because a part of me has transgressed against you.
Right.
And it's just a flag saying, that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
You might have hurt that person.
Like warning light.
And that's not okay. And you need to do something about that.
Right.
Okay, thanks. You can thank the part that's feeling all the guilt, letting you know, right?
It's an indicator.
It's an indicator, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And many times it's also an indicator of burnout. As a single parent, as a former military officer, one of the things I quickly understood was that I can't be on all the time.
Right.
I need to take breaks or else I will be the angry mom.
Right.
I can easily turn into, mama's always in protector mode or,
Which is
it's
all
not
really-
easy to do when you don't take a rest.
Yeah.
You can't give what you don't got.
Yeah.
And if you haven't given it to yourself, if you haven't given yourself compassion,
Yeah.
you can't give it to your children.
Yeah. So that's the dance, right? Like taking care of my kids and taking care of the internal world. And
Right.
and as you're talking, I'm remembering the shock for my kid's mom after Maya was born. I remember saying to me, I read that they nurse every 2 hours, but I didn't realize it was for 90 minutes. And she, she's, I have it's like my whole identity is gone.
Yeah.
It's being sucked out of my own
Oh
body
my
by this
gosh,
baby. And I'm exhausted and
Right.
right? And the shock of that and the depletion.
Yeah.
And then to try and come from a place of depletion and do all this lovely
Right.
internal work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
So I think the more we can, and I think this is part of the cultural legacy, we don't support new mums.
Yes.
That whole, some of what you've been talking about, well, you just meant to know,
Yeah.
you just meant to do it. No,
Right.
no, you just lost your entire identity, the way you've known yourself. You may have lost your partner because you're not available in the way they want you to be available, and you've got this incredibly dependent being, and you're the only one that can meet its needs in this moment.
So Ray Castellino, who does a lot of perinatal work, talks about how new moms need 2 layers of support. That it's not just the partner, you know,
Yeah.
if there is one, but that there always needs to be an additional layer, and how that extra layer of support helps the baby's system relax and be able to not be on high alert. So, you know, when I think about even in parenting, like, I don't think it's just for new moms. I think all through the process,
Right.
we need to have layers of support.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sure, and so often, I think as so many people enter the parenting game a little bit later. I know I was in my 30s, and I had a career, and I had a teaching profession, and I had all of these things that I had kind of mastered, and had no idea there would be this bald dictator living in my house.
Right.
And that it didn't matter that I knew all this stuff, because
Right.
he was like, I'm in charge. You saying that
Yeah.
90 minutes every 2 hours, I'm like, oh, I remember that.
Yes.
And just crying at times,
Yes.
and that, oh, I don't want to,
Yeah.
I have this beautiful experience, and
Yeah.
yeah, all these parts are showing up.
Yes.
So-
I remember, this is the funny story, I remember sitting on my bed and my husband came home. It was like maybe the second day that he had gone back to work. And he came home and I'm still in my pajamas and I'm sitting on the bed and he's like, how was your day? And I just burst into tears. I'm like, I'm just a milking cow. That's all I do all day long, you know? It just felt like, and when someone finally said to me, because I had these visions of this is my life forever. And when someone finally said to me, just remember as they get older, it spreads apart and it's not, you know, just having that extra layer of support, it was like, oh, okay, it's not going to be like this forever. So having that support coming in, you know, really just changed my whole perspective. Yeah.
And another thing that kind of comes to mind for me is just how important social support is.
Yeah.
And in a lot of other cultures and societies, I think, like Eastern society, they really get that more than we do, I think. It really does take a village,
It's a
you know,
village.
that I've had to be
System.
vulnerable and ask for help, even as we're recording this video, you know,
Right.
like I have to be able to trust someone else with my most prized possession. I have to relinquish some of that control that I'd like to have over my son and say, I can't do this alone.
Right.
It's,
And that's
Black
okay.
and it was
Yeah,
designed
there's
that
no
way,
shame.
I think.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Black Therapist Rock, we call it village mentality because life was designed for us to be with one another,
Yeah.
Right.
in connection.
I
Yeah.
think that's why that expression caught on so much, right? It takes a village,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it feels, intuitively, it feels, yeah, actually it does. And this nuclear family that is movable because corporations and industry can use the workers, is a new invention.
Yeah.
Let's go back 5 generations. Who wasn't living in a community? An
Right.
extended community.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Where your
And
grandma-
knew all their neighbors.
And grandmother's 2 doors down, able to
That's
help
right.
if you get stuck. You know, that's the legacy that we don't have anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Schwartz said that the 4 biggest legacy burdens that we experience here in America is racism, classism, patriarchy, and individualism.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
That need to do it all by myself.
Yeah. See, the animals know this.
Yeah.
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 It's like, oh, y'all are my family.
I need some
This is my village.
I would like love from you and love from you. Oh.
All right. How about we wrap up on that note of love?
Yeah.
Is that good? Thank you so much.